The desert wind howled across the rocky landscape as Dr. Alex finished collecting his evening samples. He had been working alone at the research station for 3 months now, studying the unique mineral formations in this remote part of the Atacama Desert. Most people would find the isolation unbearable, but Alex loved the peace and quiet. It gave him time to think, to focus on his work without the constant buzz of city life. As he packed up his equipment, a strange flash of light caught his eye. It wasn't lightning. The sky was clear, filled with thousands of stars. The light came from behind a cluster of rocks about half a mile away. Alex frowned, checking his watch. It was almost midnight. No aircraft should be flying over this restricted area, especially not at this hour. Curiosity got the better of him. Alex grabbed his flashlight and headed toward the source of the light. The desert floor was treacherous at night, filled with loose stones and hidden crevices, but he knew this area well. As he got closer, he could smell something burning, not wood or fuel, but something metallic and strange. What he found behind the rocks made him stop dead in his tracks. A craft unlike anything he had ever seen lay embedded in the sand. It was about the size of a small car, with smooth, curved surfaces that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. The metal wasn't like anything from Earth. It looked almost alive, pulsing with a faint blue glow. Alex's heart raced. His scientific mind was already working, trying to process what he was seeing. This wasn't a crashed plane or helicopter. The design was too advanced, too alien. Steam rose from various parts of the craft, and he could hear strange humming sounds coming from within. He circled the craft carefully, looking for any signs of danger. There were no obvious weapons, no radiation readings on his handheld detector. Part of the hull had cracked open, revealing a soft, warm light inside. Alex knew he should call the authorities, report this immediately, but something held him back. Maybe it was the scientist in him, or maybe it was simple human curiosity. Taking a deep breath, Alex peered inside the opening. The interior was beautiful. Walls that seemed to be made of crystalline material, soft lighting that had no obvious source, and controls that looked more like art than technology. And there, lying on what appeared to be a bed of some kind, was a figure. At first glance, Alex thought it might be a woman, but as his eyes adjusted to the strange light, he realized this was something extraordinary. Her skin had a subtle blue tint that seemed to glow from within. Her hair was a silvery color that moved slightly, as if it had its own gentle breeze. She was clearly hurt. There were cuts on her arms and forehead, and her breathing was shallow. Alex's medical training kicked in immediately. He didn't care what she was or where she came from. Someone was hurt, and he knew how to help. He carefully climbed into the craft, his hand shaking slightly as he checked for a pulse. Her heartbeat was there, but it felt different, stronger. With a rhythm that seemed almost musical, the woman's eyes suddenly opened, and Alex found himself looking into the most beautiful eyes he had ever seen. They were a deep violet color, with flecks of silver that seemed to sparkle. She tried to sit up, but winced in pain and fell back down. She said something in a language Alex had never heard before. It sounded like singing, with tones that rose and fell like a melody. Alex spoke softly, trying to keep his voice calm and reassuring. "It's okay. You're hurt, but you're safe now. I'm going to help you." He didn't know if she understood him, but he hoped his tone would convey his peaceful intentions. The woman studied his face for a long moment, then nodded slightly. She seemed to understand that he meant no harm. Alex carefully examined her injuries. The cuts were healing much faster than they should have been. He could actually see the skin knitting itself back together. Biology was clearly different from humans, but she was still a living being in need of help. As Alex worked to make her more comfortable, he faced a decision that would change his life forever. He could contact the military, the government, or the scientific community. They would be very interested in this discovery. But looking at this injured woman, Alex realized that she wasn't just a discovery, she was a person. And something told him that if the wrong people found out about her, she would become a prisoner, a test subject, or worse. The woman seemed to sense his internal struggle. She reached out weakly and touched his hand. The contact sent a strange, tingling sensation through his arm. Not unpleasant, but definitely not human. In that moment, Alex made his choice. He would help her, protect her, and figure out the rest later. Carefully, Alex helped her to her feet. She was taller than he expected, and despite her injuries, she moved with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. Supporting her weight, he guided her out of the craft and toward his research station. The building was small but well equipped. With a medical kit and a comfortable bed, as they walked slowly across the desert, Alex couldn't help but wonder what he had gotten himself into. Who was this woman? Where had she come from? Why did he feel such a strong urge to protect her? The stars above seemed brighter than usual, as if the universe itself was watching this unlikely first meeting between two very different worlds. The next morning, Alex woke up to the sound of soft humming. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming, but then he remembered the events of the previous night. He quickly got up and checked on his unexpected guest. Was sitting by the window, watching the sunrise with wonder in her violet eyes. The cuts on her face had completely healed overnight, leaving only smooth, glowing skin. When she noticed Alex watching her, she smiled and pointed to the sun, then to herself, making a gesture that seemed to indicate gratitude. Alex realized she was thanking the sun for something, maybe for healing, or simply for the beauty of a new day. He found himself smiling back, amazed by how expressive she could be without words. Over the next few days, Alex and his mysterious visitor developed their own way of communicating. She would point to objects, and he would tell her the English word. Then she would repeat it in her own language, which sounded like a combination of singing and wind chimes. Alex started a notebook, writing down her words alongside the English. Once he was amazed by how quickly she learned. Within a week, she could speak simple sentences in English. "My name is Zara," she told him one evening, as they sat outside watching the stars. "I am from far place, very far." She pointed to a constellation that Alex didn't recognize, though he knew the desert sky better than most people. "I'm Alex," he replied, then asked the question that had been burning in his mind. "Why are you here, Zara? What happened to your ship?" Zara's expression grew sad. She struggled to find the right words in English, sometimes mixing in phrases from her own language. "Bad man wants to marry me. I say no. He angry. He chased me across sky. My ship broken. I fall here." Alex felt a surge of protective anger. Across the vastness of space, it seemed that some problems were universal. "You're safe now," he told her firmly. "This bad man, he can't hurt you here." But Zara shook her head sadly. "He very powerful. He have many ships, many soldiers. He'd not give up easy." As the days passed, Alex learned more about Zara's world. She came from a planet called Lyria, where her people lived in harmony with nature. She showed him how she could make plants grow faster by touching them, how she could calm wild animals with a gentle song, and how she could sense the emotions of living things around her. "Your people must be very advanced," Alex said one day, as he watched her repair a broken cactus with just the touch of her hand. "We learn to live with life, not against it," Zara explained. "On Lyria, we believe all living things connected. What hurt one, hurt all. What heal one, heal all." Alex was fascinated. As a scientist, he had always studied life from the outside, observing and analyzing. But Zara showed him a different way of understanding the world around them. She taught him to feel the desert's rhythms, to sense the underground water sources, to hear the conversations of the small creatures that lived in the rocks. In return, Alex showed Zara the wonders of Earth. He brought her books full of pictures showing oceans, forests, and cities. Her eyes would light up with excitement as she saw the incredible diversity of life on his planet. She was particularly amazed by the concept of rain on Lyria. Water came from underground springs, and the idea of it falling from the sky seemed magical to her. "Your world very beautiful," she said one day, flipping through a book about marine life. "So many different creatures. On Lyria, we have peace, but maybe too much same. Your Earth have ... how you say? More surprise." Alex laughed. "I never thought of it that way." Yes, Earth definitely has surprises. One evening, as they worked together to improve the solar panels on Alex's research station, Zara suddenly stopped and looked up at the sky with worry in her eyes. "He coming," she whispered. I can feel his anger from far away, like dark cloud in my mind. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. The man who was chasing you? Zara nodded, her face pale. Commander Vex. He very dangerous. Use fear to control. People, he want to marry me not for love, but for power. My people have gift we can speak with minds, feel what others feel. He'd think if he'd marry me, he can control this gift. But you don't love him, Alex said, and immediately realized how obvious that sounded. Love? Zara looked confused. In my world, marriage is for joining families, making alliances. Love is different thing, but you Earth people marry for love? Yes? Alex nodded, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. Yes, we do. At least that's the idea. Zara was quiet for a long moment, then said softly, I think I understand love now. Is when you care for someone more than yourself. When their happiness more important than your own. Their eyes met, and Alex felt something pass between them, an understanding, a connection that went deeper than words. He had started out trying to help an injured stranger, but somewhere along the way, Zara had become so much more than that. She had become his friend, his teacher, and if he was being honest with himself, something even more precious. But with Commander Vex, apparently on their trail, Alex knew their peaceful time together might be coming to an end. He looked at Zara's worried face and made a silent promise to himself. Whatever happened next, he would do everything in his power to protect her. She had shown him wonders beyond his imagination. And now it was his turn to show her that not all creatures in the universe were motivated by power and control. Some, like him, were motivated by something much stronger, the desire to protect the people they cared about, no matter the cost. Alex spent the entire night staring at his laptop screen, researching everything he could find about international law, asylum cases, and legal protection for refugees. The more he read, the more an impossible idea began to form in his mind. It was crazy, completely insane, but it might be the only way to keep Zara safe. The next morning, he found Zara sitting in the garden behind his research station, surrounded by desert plants that were blooming out of season. She had this amazing ability to make flowers grow just by being near them. The sight always made Alex smile, but today he was too nervous to appreciate the beauty. Zara, he said, sitting down beside her on the small bench he had built. I've been thinking about your situation, about Commander Vex, and how to protect you. She looked up from the small desert rose she was encouraging to bloom. You find solution? Alex took a deep breath. His heart was beating so fast he was sure she could hear it, but it's going to sound really strange. He paused, trying to find the right words. On Earth, if someone marries a citizen, they can get legal protection. They can stay here safely, and no one can force them to leave. Zara tilted her head, confused. But I'd not understand marriage for protection? How'd this work? Well, Alex said, his voice getting quieter, if you married someone like me, an Earth citizen, then legally you would be protected. Commander Vex couldn't just take you away. Our government would have to protect you. For a moment, Zara just stared at him. Then her eyes went wide with shock. You're taking me as your wife? Really? She asked, her voice filled with complete surprise. Alex's face turned red. I mean, it would be just to help you, to keep you safe, not trying to force you into anything. It would be like a business arrangement, not a real marriage. But even as he said the words, Alex knew they weren't entirely true. Over the past few weeks, his feelings for Zara had grown into something much deeper than friendship. She was kind, intelligent, and saw the world in ways that amazed him every day. When she laughed, it sounded like music. When she was sad, it broke his heart. He had never felt this way about anyone before. Zara was quiet for a long time, processing what he had said. Finally, she spoke. On Lyria, marriage is different. It's about families joining together, about making strong alliances. Love is separate. But here on Earth you marry for love? Yes, usually yes, Alex admitted. But this would be different. This would be to protect you. But Alex, Zara said softly, what if it's not just for protection? What if is also for love? Alex's heart stopped. What do you mean? Zara stood up and walked to the edge of the garden, looking out at the desert. I am princess. I have duties, responsibilities. I must think about my people first. Always. But here, with you, I feel different. I feel like just Zara. Not princess, not political tool, just me. She turned back to face him, and Alex saw tears in her violet eyes. You asked me to marry you to protect me. But Alex, what if I want to marry you for a different reason? What if I want to marry you because you first person who see me as person, not as thing to use? Alex stood up and walked to her, his own emotions overwhelming him. Zara, I have to be honest with you. When I first suggested this, I told myself it was just to help you. But the truth is, I care about you more than I've ever cared about anyone. You've changed my life in ways I never imagined possible. How I changed your life? She asked, moving closer to him. Before you came, I was just existing, going through the motions of life, focused only on my work. See the world around me? You taught me that science isn't just about studying life from the outside, but about understanding our connection to everything around us. Zara reached out and took his hand. Familiar tingling sensation ran up his arm, but now it felt warm and comforting instead of strange. On Lyria, way of saying. Two hearts that beat as one can face any storm. I think maybe your heart and my heart, they starting to beat together. Are you saying you want to marry me? Alex asked, hardly daring to believe it. I sang, I want to try, Zara replied with a small smile. But Alex, you must understand. If I stay here, if I marry you, I abandon my people. They need me. They suffering under Commander Vex's rule. Alex felt a cold knot form in his stomach. What do you mean? Zara closed her eyes and touched her forehead. I can feel them, even from this distance. My people calling for help. Commander Vex using fear to control them. Without royal family to lead resistance, they have no hope. But if you go back, he'll force you to marry him, Alex said desperately. Yes, Zara said quietly. This is my choice. Stay here and be happy, but let my people suffer. Or go back and sacrifice myself to save them. Alex pulled her into his arms, feeling the weight of impossible decisions. There has to be another way. We'll figure something out. Maybe, Zara said, resting her head against his chest. But for now, maybe we can pretend that we have time, that we can be just Alex and Zara, not scientist and princess. As they stood there in the garden, surrounded by impossible flowers blooming, in the desert, Alex realized that this was what love really meant. It wasn't just about happiness or companionship. It was about being willing to face the impossible for someone else. About finding strength in each other when the world seemed determined to tear you apart. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions, new dangers. But tonight, under the stars that had brought them together, Alex and Zara had found something worth fighting for. Not just her safety, but their chance at a future together, however uncertain it might be. The morning started like any other, but by noon, everything changed. Alex was checking his weather equipment when all his electronic devices suddenly went dead. His laptop, radio, satellite phone, everything just stopped working. The silence was eerie, broken only by the desert wind and Zara's sharp intake of breath. He's here, she whispered, her face pale with fear. Commander Vex, I can feel his presence like ice in my mind. Alex looked up at the sky and saw something that made his blood run cold. 3 dark shapes were moving across the blue expanse, too large to be aircraft and too smooth to be natural. They moved without sound, casting long shadows on the desert. Floor as they approached, we need to leave, Alex said, grabbing his emergency backpack. But before they could move, a booming voice echoed across the desert, speaking in Zara's musical language. Alex didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. It was a command, full of authority and threat. Zara translated, her voice shaking. He says I must come with him willingly, or he will destroy everything in this area. He gives me 1 hour to decide. Alex felt anger rising in his chest. Can't just threaten people like that. This is Earth, not his territory. You don't understand, Zara said, tears forming in her eyes. His technology is far beyond what your people have. He could level entire cities if he wanted to. He's showing restraint only because he still needs me alive. As if to prove her point, one of the ships descended and hovered over a distant hill. A beam of light shot from its base, and the entire hillside simply vanished, leaving only smooth glass where rock had been moments before. Alex grabbed Zara's hand. We're not giving up. If he wants you, he'll have to catch us first. They ran toward Alex's jeep, but when he tried to start it, nothing happened. The electromagnetic pulse from the alien ships had disabled all their technology. Alex cursed under his breath, then looked at Zara with determination. We go on foot. I know these desert paths better than anyone. If we can reach the old mining caves, we might be able to hide until help arrives. Alex, no, Zara protested. You don't understand how dangerous this is. If he catches you helping me, he will hurt you just to make me suffer. Then we better not get caught, Alex said, shouldering his pack. Which way do we go to avoid those ships? Despite her fear, Zara smiled slightly at his stubborn courage. There she pointed to a narrow canyon between two rocky outcroppings. I can sense the ship's energy signatures. They're focusing on the main roads. They began their escape through the harsh desert terrain. Alex's knowledge of the area proved invaluable. He knew every hidden path, every water source, every cave. Where they could rest, Zara's alien abilities helped too. She could sense when the search ships were getting close, and her enhanced hearing picked up sounds that Alex couldn't detect. As they walked, Alex learned more about Commander Vex and the situation on Lyria. He wasn't always evil, Zara explained, as they rested in the shade of a large boulder. He was once a respected military leader, but power changed him, became obsessed with control, with having dominion over others. What about your people? Can't they fight back? They try, Zara said sadly. But Vex has weapons, ships, loyal soldiers. My people are peaceful by nature. They don't know how to fight someone who shows no mercy. Alex thought about this as they continued their journey. He understood now why Zara felt so torn. She wasn't just running from a bad marriage. She was abandoning her people in their darkest hour. On their second day of travel, they made an incredible discovery. Hidden in a deep cave system, they found Zara's crashed ship. Alex had assumed it was completely destroyed, but the alien technology was more resilient than he'd thought. It's been repairing itself, Zara said with wonder, running her hands over the smooth hull. The ship's artificial intelligence has been slowly fixing the damage using minerals from the cave walls. Alex watched in amazement as the ship's surface seemed to flow like liquid, sealing cracks and rebuilding damaged sections. How long before it's ready to fly? Maybe 2 days, Zara replied. Then her expression grew troubled. But Alex, if my ship is working, that means I could leave, could go back to Lyria. Is that what you want? Alex asked, though he dreaded the answer. Zara was quiet for a long moment. I've been receiving messages, she finally said. The resistance on my home world? They haven't given up. They're still fighting, but they need hope. They need their princess to return and lead them. Alex felt his heart breaking, but he tried to keep his voice steady. Then that's what you have to do. But what about us? What about our plans to marry? Alex took her hands in his. Zara, I love you. That's exactly why I can't ask you to abandon. Your people, for me, they need you more than I do. No, Zara said firmly. They need me, yes, but I need you too. And maybe there's a way to save both worlds. As they worked together to help the ship complete its repairs, Alex realized that their love story was about to become something much bigger. It wasn't just about two people from different worlds finding each other. It was about the power of love to bridge impossible distances and unite different peoples. But first, they had to survive Commander Vex's hunt, and with each passing hour, the search ships were getting closer to their hiding place. The third day brought both hope and terror. Zara's ship hummed with renewed energy, its systems finally coming back online after days of self-repair. But just as they were preparing to test the engines, the cave entrance exploded in a shower of rock and dust. Commander Vex had found them. Alex pushed Zara behind him as a figure emerged from the smoke. Commander Vex was tall and imposing, wearing dark armor that seemed to absorb light. His eyes were cold and calculating, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "Princess Zara," he said in perfect English, clearly having studied Earth languages, "you have caused me considerable trouble. It is time to end this foolishness and return to your duties. I will never marry you," Zara said, stepping out from behind Alex, despite his protective gesture. "My people deserve better than your tyranny." Vex laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Your people? They are weak, scattered, afraid. They need strong leadership. Together, we will bring order to Lyria and expand our influence across the galaxy." "You mean you will use me to control them?" Zara replied defiantly. "If necessary," Vex said without emotion. He turned his attention to Alex. "And you, human, you have interfered in matters beyond your understanding. For this you will be punished." Alex felt fear grip his heart, but he stood his ground. "Zara is free to make her own choices. That's how things work on Earth." "Earth," Vex said dismissively. "A primitive world that exists only because we allow it. But perhaps a demonstration is needed." He raised his hand, and Alex felt an invisible force lift him off the ground. Pain shot through his body as Vex's power began to crush him. But instead of begging for mercy, Alex looked directly at Zara and smiled. "Remember what you taught me," he gasped. "About connections. About how all life is linked together." Zara's eyes widened with understanding. In that moment, she realized that Alex wasn't just being brave, he was giving her a message. The cave they were in was part of a larger system, connected to underground water sources and mineral deposits that ran throughout the desert, and Alex, with his knowledge of geology, knew exactly how to use that connection. "Let him go, Vex," Zara said, her voice carrying a new strength. "Your fight is with me, not with him." "Indeed it is," Vex replied, but he didn't release Alex. "Watch carefully, princess. See what happens to those who defy me." But as Vex focused his power on Alex, he didn't notice Zara placing her hands on the cave wall. Her telepathic abilities, enhanced by her emotional connection to Alex, reached out through the underground network. She felt the delicate balance of forces in the rock formations above them, the stress points that Alex had identified during their journey. "You're right about one thing, Vex," Zara said. "This is about power. But you never understood the real source of power." "Enough talk," Vex snarled, increasing his grip on Alex. "Love," Zara said simply. "The power of love." She pressed her abilities deep into the stone, and Alex felt her presence in his mind. For a moment, they were truly connected, not just emotionally, but mentally and spiritually. Their bond, Alex shared his knowledge of the cave system, and Zara shared her power to influence the natural world around them. The cave began to shake. Not violently, but with purpose. Rock formations that had stood for thousands of years began to shift and move. Vex realized too late what was happening. He released Alex and tried to flee, but the entrance was already blocked by a controlled rockfall. "You cannot escape," Vex shouted, drawing what looked like a weapon. "I will destroy both of you before I allow this defiance to continue." But Alex was ready. As Vex turned his attention to his weapon, Alex triggered the final part of their plan. The underground water system that Zara had connected to suddenly shifted, creating a massive sinkhole that opened beneath Vex's feet. The commander fell into the depths, his shouts echoing in the darkness. "He's not dead," Zara said, sensing his life force. "But he's trapped. It will take his ship's time to dig him out." Alex struggled to his feet, his body aching from Vex's attack. "Are you okay?" "Fine," Zara replied, but tears were streaming down her face. "Alex, what we just did? We were connected, really connected. On Lyria, when two minds join like that, it means we're married," Alex finished, understanding flooding through him. "In the deepest way possible for your people." "You're taking me as your wife, really?" Zara asked, but this time her voice was filled with wonder rather than surprise. "If you'll have me," Alex said, pulling her into his arms. "Duh. But what about your people? What about Lyria?" Zara smiled, and for the first time since he'd met her, Alex saw no sadness in her eyes. I've been thinking about that. What if I don't have to choose between saving my people and staying with you? What if there's a third option? Would you mean your people and mine? We could help each other? Earth has courage, creativity, the ability to fight against impossible odds. Lyria has knowledge, technology, the power to heal and protect. Together, we could defeat Vex and build something better. Alex felt hope blooming in his chest. A partnership between our worlds? Why not? Zara asked. We've already proven that love can bridge any distance. Maybe it's time to show the universe what's possible when different peoples work together instead of fighting each other. As they stood in the cave, surrounded by the evidence of their victory, Alex realized that their story was just beginning. They had found love in the most unlikely circumstances, but more than that. They had found a way to turn that love into something that could change both their worlds. The stars above seemed brighter than ever, no longer barriers between worlds, but pathways to infinite possibilities. And somewhere in the desert, two beings from different planets began planning a future that would unite the stars themselves.